Another day, another story about Democrats panicking over the success of Donald Trump and the fact that he is often correct. And once again, the media is trying to cover for them. In today's lead story, Democrats fear Trump's new 2020 strategy is working. Second verse, same as the first, they say. The president and his team aren't hiding their plans to make Beijing the main villain in America's fight against the pandemic. The president and his team, their plan? First of all, Donald Trump has railed on China for over a decade, for a very, very long time. I got articles. I brought the receipts. But yes, the media is now trying to pretend like this is a new strategy. Okay, fine. Maybe you can claim it's a new strategy when dealing with the coronavirus, but come on. It's not new that Donald Trump is criticizing China simply because the subject matter has changed doesn't change his strategy. It's literally what Donald Trump campaigned on in 2016. There are articles and interviews going back to 2011 with Donald Trump ragging on China. But the media is desperate. We really do get a glimpse of how Democrats and media activists overlap in their view of the world. Wired wrote an article saying that the right-wing stunt to criticize the World Health Organization is working, and maybe Trump wasn't wrong. Let me just rephrase that for you. Trump was right about China. Trump was right about the World Health Organization. Is that so hard? It's not a pro-conservative position to point out facts. So let's do this. I want to show you how the media has consistently tried to cover for the Democrats. It's quite annoying. And I don't mean every single person in media. But let's get started with exactly what the accusations are now against Donald Trump and what Democrats are feeling considering, once again, Donald Trump was right. Now, I want to start by saying a lot of people keep saying, oh, Tim, you make all these videos pointing out Trump was right. That must mean you support him. No, it doesn't. It means he was right. What else do you want? A cookie? Guess, take the win and let's move on. The Daily Beast. I read you the headline already, so let's jump to the story. They say President Donald Trump and his allies are leaning heavily into a new 2020 strategy tying Democrats and their presumptive presidential nominee, Joe Biden, not just to China, but to its role in spreading the coronavirus. Democrats are increasingly worried the strategy will work. Now, before we read on, head over to timcast.com/donate if you'd like to support my work. There's several ways you can help out, but the best thing you can do is just share this video. YouTube suppresses content like mine, propping up mainstream media that often give you this narrative as essentially misleading you, claiming that this is a new strategy for Trump. No, it's part of the same old strategy he used before, and it's probably because he really believes the stuff. Also, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification bell if you want to get more videos like this, but let's keep reading. The Daily Beast says, the Trump re-election campaign released a new ad this week going after Biden over his opposition to restrictions on travel from China designed to control the spread of the coronavirus outbreak. That was followed with a fundraising solicitation on Saturday that hammered home the point, quote, I am tough on China and sleepy Joe Biden is weak on China, it declared. Trump is correct here. I have the receipts. I will prove it to you, even though the media is trying to protect Biden over his failures. You know, this is what happens. Trump says, hey, here's a problem. This thing happening with China. And the media says, no, there's no problem here. Vox.com, the left-wing site, said that the coronavirus would not be a pandemic after Trump banned travel from China. And then we saw Joe Biden call Trump xenophobic and said a travel ban wouldn't work. Yes, I'm going to show you the tweets. And now as we move forward, the fact-checking organizations are trying to play it up like Joe Biden never actually said that. We'll prove them wrong. Inside the campaign, the strategy is simple. Make China the villain of a global pandemic that has complicated well-laid electoral plans and sparked growing criticism of the president. No, most people approve of the president's job on the coronavirus. Now, it's gone down a little bit. So it's now slightly more than half of people, according to the RCP average, disapprove of the president's dealings with the coronavirus. But he's been going back and forth, meaning there are a lot of people who aren't criticizing him. Quote, China's among many weaknesses. But when people learn about Biden's attack on the president's China travel ban, his other weak positions on China, and his conflict with Hunter Biden's business deal with China, voters are horrified. John McLaughlin, a Trump pollster, told the Daily Beast on Friday. Other Trump 2020 officials said that the campaign had always intended to hammer Biden on China until the election in November, and the coronavirus angle was merely another way to go after the Bidens and China simultaneously. Yes, because there's a big story about Joe Biden's son Hunter getting a big deal from the Chinese government. In one sense, it's simply an extension of Team Trump's months-long strategy to tie Biden to a country increasingly viewed with suspicion by American voters. The campaign and the Republican National Committee have been hammering Biden for months over his youngest son Hunter's past business dealings with China. But the outbreak of the novel coronavirus, which originated in the Chinese city of Wuhan, has made the country a far more potent political villain. And the massive disruptions in daily life caused by the virus virtually guarantee that China will remain in the headlines and on the minds of American voters for months as Election Day approaches. Polls already indicate that Americans of both parties overwhelmingly blame China for the virus's initial spread. Could it be that in 2011, when Donald Trump was calling out China, he was right? Is it just that simple? Not that it's some nefarious plot to malign the poor country of China, but that Trump was right, calling them out and calling out the fact that the Democrats were trying to move more jobs overseas. I got the receipts. I'm going to show you. Just wait for it. I want to get through the story. But yes, they were. It's a fact. Trump shut down the Trans-Pacific Partnership, whose goal was to allow American companies to benefit, they say, from cheap foreign labor. Trump shut it down. Now we can see, amidst this crisis, the problem with having our manufacturings overseas. How insane was it to think we could send our medicine production and medical supplies production to China? And then when this happens, they blame Trump for it. They say for a Trump campaign, that's a potential political goldmine. China was an effective wedge issue for Trump in 2016, said one Republican strategist close to the campaign. Now that it's at the top of everyone's mind and Biden has a long record of being weak on China, just imagine how much more effective it will be in 2020. The new tactic, they say, from Trump has not gone unnoticed by Democrats who fear that it may be the type of opening that a cynical president could effectively use, even one who has made a point of going soft on China's leader, Xi Jinping, whom Trump routinely praises as an incredible guy who's doing a great job handling the virus. I love how they throw that in. Because out of all the things Trump has ever said about China, a handful have been good. Now, presumably that's when Trump is negotiating with them. But come on, you think Trump actually likes China? The reality is simple. These Democrats are viewing the world through a lens that no matter what Trump says, he's wrong. And if you have that assumption from the start, you'll think China must not really be that bad. It's just Trump maligning them. When in reality, Trump is succeeding because he's been right. You don't have to support the guy. You don't have to agree with his policies on domestic issues. But when he called out China, he was right. What more do you want? It's a fact. Navigator Research, a progressive polling outlet that has taken the lead for the party in public opinion surveying around the virus, included an alarm bell nugget in its Friday dispatch. Warning, the item read, Trump's China rhetoric may be resonating and gaining traction. As evidence, the firm noted that 43% of respondents in its survey said China bears more responsibility than the federal government for the way the coronavirus has spread in the U.S. Something I have said. I don't even blame. Look, I think Bill de Blasio deserves some blame, Andrew Cuomo, and yes, even Donald Trump to varying degrees. But that's like 2% of the blame to go around between the three of them, when in reality, China deserves most of the blame. The World Health Organization gave us bogus information they sourced from China, and it slowed our response. So yeah, let's blame China. Quote, a lot of times people on the left tend to have a knee-jerk reaction to Trump's racism and xenophobia that disallows them from taking it as seriously as a messaging tactic as it is, said Ian Sims, a top official at Navigator. The public is pretty anti-China right now, and I think there is validity to the idea that they've been less than transparent and hid information on the virus, and Trump is seizing on that. We can't just let Trump's lies be the only thing out there. Wait, you just said, can you believe this? That there's evidence, there's reason to believe that China was withholding information, but when Trump calls it out, Trump's lying? You see how broken their brains are. It's mind-numbing to me. Take a look at this. From Yahoo News, Wuhan is open and infections are down, but China's coronavirus numbers can't be trusted. So who's lying? You, the media, Trump? I honestly don't know anybody, but I'll tell you what. We're seeing the problem. We're seeing the infections. All signs point to Wuhan. China lied. Period. I don't, look, man, I'm left speechless by this. They say there's real reason to believe it's true, but we can't let Trump's lies persist. But Trump was right. You just said there's reason to believe he's right. Check this out. Trump's China bashing ad is more ridiculous than you thought, writes the Washington Post. Why? Because he was saying that Joe Biden was soft on China. That's the ad. That's what the Daily Beast was complaining about. All right, here you go. Joe Biden tweeted this on the 12th of March. A wall will not stop the coronavirus. Banning all travel from Europe or any other part of the world will not stop it. This disease could impact every nation and any person on the planet, and we need a plan to combat it. Joe Biden fell into the no matter what Trump does, he's wrong trap. The orange man bad trap. Donald Trump said, let's ban travel from China in January. Joe Biden came out March 12th saying banning travel from any other part of the world will not stop it. Dr. Fauci said otherwise. And sure enough, Joe Biden flipped and later came out and said he supports the travel ban and never called it xenophobic. What a lie. You know what, man? They call Trump a liar all the time, but the media and the Democrats lie all the time. I'm not going to sit here and pretend Trump is telling the truth. I don't know. He was right in terms of his rhetoric on China. That's not about lying. It's about him saying, hey, China's doing these things. That's bad. Well, that was true. How about this? Joe Biden tweeted, we are in the midst. This is a day after Trump's China travel ban. We are in the midst of a crisis with the coronavirus. We need to lead the way with science, not Donald Trump's record of hysteria, xenophobia, and fear-mongering. He is the worst possible person to lead our country through a global health emergency. Joe Biden tweeted that. Most of you probably know this already, but let me give you the context. I'm building up to something. He then tweeted just over a month later that banning travel from anywhere in the world won't stop it. So I think we know Joe Biden opposed Donald Trump's travel ban. And what do we get from PolitiFact? Fact-checking Donald Trump, who said, speaking of his restriction on travel from China, quote, I had Joe Biden calling me xenophobic. He called me a racist because of the fact that he felt it was a racist thing to stop people from China coming in. They say it's mostly false. Why? Well, we don't know what Joe Biden was referring to, they say. So you mean to tell me that Joe Biden, who came out publicly saying a travel ban won't work to anywhere in the world, and that a day after Trump's travel ban from China, he said Trump has a history of xenophobia, that he wasn't referring to Trump's travel ban. Fine, make assumptions, but mostly false is absurd. You can maybe say mostly true or just political rhetoric. That's what the media tends to do. Check out this story. This is absolutely fascinating tweet from Wired. Wired tweeted just this morning, a right-wing stunt to pin the blame for COVID-19 on the World Health Organization actually contains a useful notion. There is at least some reason to suspect that the World Health Organization knowingly and consequentially misled us. Are you kidding me? A right-wing stunt? This is the paranoid, delusional reality these people live in. It's gotten me thinking. If it's a right-wing stunt to accurately, correctly point out that the World Health Organization was sharing disinformation and misleading us, then what does left and right really mean anymore? Some people have tried to claim that I'm right-wing. They do it all the time. Or they say that I must be secretly a Trump supporter for calling out the Democrats all the time. Perhaps it's because I'm calling out facts. Or perhaps it's because, yes, I absolutely am biased, and I see the Democrats as constantly doing these stupid things. It is a fact. Donald Trump has called out China. It is a fact. The World Health Organization was spreading misinformation, hurting us. Those are not right-wing policy positions. They're just facts. Pointing them out doesn't make anyone left or right. Well, according to Wired, if you do, you're right-wing. They write this. Trump isn't wrong about investigating the World Health Organization. Can't you just write Trump is right about investigating the World Health Organization, Wired? I love how they frame everything. A right-wing stunt to pin the blame of COVID-19. Yeah, we read that. That's their subhead. They say, This week, President Trump expanded his arsenal for dealing with the coronavirus pandemic. He went from a blame China, not me strategy to a blame China and the World Health Organization, not me strategy. Officials at the World Health Organization, Trump said at a press conference, are very biased towards China. Just look at how in the early weeks of the outbreak, they said there's no big deal, there's no problem, there's nothing. So Trump will be looking into whether to freeze U.S. funding for the World Health Organization. Republican Senator Rick Scott of Florida is on board. A week before Trump's press conference, he called for hearings into the World Health Organization performance. The World Health Organization, Scott says, lied to us. It was intentional. People are dying because of it. So as soon as Congress is back in session, there should be a hearing along with a full investigation to review whether American taxpayers should continue to spend millions of dollars every year to fund an organization that willfully parroted propaganda from the Chinese Communist Party. Yes, these are facts. Donald Trump was pointing out a fact. We've all seen the video of the Hong Kong reporter asking the World Health Organization scientists about Taiwanese inclusion, because many countries want to recognize Taiwan as an independent nation. And the World Health Organization guy pretended like the call was breaking up. And then when asked again, he hung up. came back and then referred to Taiwan as China. So we understand where their allegiances lie, or at the very least, you can say they're trying to stay out of any political fights, but they've taken it upon themselves to side with China. When spreading misinformation January 15th saying that China found no human-human transmission, it slowed down everything. I'm not going to blame Trump for a virus, but if China knew and gave us bogus information and the World Health Organization repeated that, then Trump is right. I love the idea that it's some kind of new strategy for Donald Trump. Check out this story from April 27th, 2011. Donald Trump blames China for fact that much of his gear is made in China. Trump slams China for stealing U.S. jobs, but his brand items are made there. This is another thing we see in the media, a misunderstanding, or this is potentially willful misrepresentation or a misunderstanding of how things function. Donald Trump owns many companies. Some of the products from his companies are made in China. This makes Trump very angry. The problem he pointed out was that it's impossible for his companies to compete because of cheap Chinese labor. So his companies would go under completely unless he played the same game. He got sick and tired of it, and he decided to run for president. One of the first things he did when he became president was he shut down the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which would have opened the door for more outsourcing of U.S. labor to foreign markets. Trump clearly being upset by this and calling it out and then doing something about it. It's not an issue of whether you like his character. It's not an issue of whether you like conservative positions. It's a fact that Trump was right. Or at the very least, Trump called something out and he held himself to it. This is funny because they say Trump, the real estate and casino mogul, who was considered a run for the Republican presidential nomination, who was considering, blamed China for the fact that Trump ties, Trump cufflinks, and even Trump teddy bears come with a made in China label. The answer is very simple. Because of the fact that China so manipulates their currency, it makes it almost impossible for American companies to compete. You see it with all of these items you're talking about. You also see it with building products. If it continues this way, America won't have any jobs except for taking care of the elderly. Asked if he ever looked at having his Trump products manufactured in the U.S., Trump said, "Always do. There are very few companies that do it because they can't compete with the manipulation." Trump has made the flow of U.S. jobs overseas, especially to China, as much a centerpiece of his exploratory campaign for president as his questions about whether Obama was born in America, saying, "The problem with our country is that we don't make anything anymore." Now, you can absolutely rag on Donald Trump for the things he said about, the birtherism or whatever you want to say. I'm just trying to point out that Trump's rhetoric on China is not new. He has repeatedly called it out. And I look at this timeline and I'm like, why, that makes a lot of sense. Donald Trump was mad that his companies were making products in China. And it's unfortunate fact that if he moved over to United States production, he'd probably his company wouldn't do as well because other companies can sell a tie for $10. He'd have to sell it for $20 because of American labor. Some people wouldn't want to pay it. His ties would do worse. His company would fail. So you know what he decided to do? Well, instead of just sacrificing your company, he decided to run for president and then went straight for the TPP. Why Trump killed the TPP and why it matters to you. This is the Trans-Pacific Partnership. The idea was that if everyone brought down taxes on exported goods, U.S. companies would pay less for imports while benefiting from cheaper labor overseas. According to research by the Peterson Institute, the deal would have increased U.S. exports by $123 billion using back-of-the-envelope math. Obama's White House had estimated an increase of 650,000 jobs. Depending on who you're asking, because there's both sides of this. They say the TPP would have made better jobs for us. Trump says otherwise. Trump didn't want American jobs going overseas. He wanted those jobs to stay here, so he crushed the TPP. Bernie Sanders also wanted to do the exact same thing. 10 times Trump attacked China and its trade relations with the U.S. from November 9th, 2017. Trump has a record of attacking China in unconventional ways. I'm not going to go through the whole list. You get the point. Trump has repeatedly done this. NBC from April 10th, just a couple days ago. Trump administration seeks ban on China Telecom in U.S., citing unacceptable national security risks. The Department of Justice, along with other federal agencies, have requested that the Federal Communications Commission terminate China Telecom's authorization to operate in the U.S. We have seen increasingly from the federal government moves made against Chinese operatives in the U.S. I don't mean necessarily spies. I mean companies, academics, many professors, Americans who were in on the take, lying about receiving money from the Chinese government. Donald Trump is taking action against China. Anything going on right now is not new. Trump's campaign ads against Joe Biden are not crazy to say that Joe Biden has been weak on China. because Joe Biden has been. Probably because, as a part of the Obama administration, he wanted a bunch of things with China that Trump shot down, notably the TPP. Obama was for it, argued to be a great thing. Joe Biden is a remnant of the Obama administration, and certainly, I would imagine, disagrees with Trump on shutting it down. So yes, Joe Biden has a very favorable approach to China. Donald Trump, not so much. Trump said in 2017, the U.S. will be on a level playing field with China. It's Trump talks about it so much. He says, there's that meme, China. Everybody knows the meme. They joke about it all the time. And now we come to April 1st. After attacking Trump's coronavirus-related China travel ban as xenophobic, Dems and media have changed tune. This is a repeating process. It's like the movie Groundhog Day or Edge of Tomorrow, whichever one you prefer, where the day keeps repeating itself. Donald Trump says something. He's proven right. The media then follows up after the fact because they have no choice. Not always, but there's several things that happen all the time. Trump called out problems with immigration. Trump called out problems with trade with China. Even Bernie Sanders did. Bernie Sanders tried flip-flopping to win the nomination. It's not going to work. It didn't work. But Donald Trump then being proven right, the media has to always come up with a counter narrative. The joke is, if Trump came out in favor of oxygen, they'd all hold their breaths. And I believe that's not even necessarily a joke. Trump comes out in favor of a treatment that may help COVID patients, and the media goes nuts to try and discredit him. Right now, we've got more important things to worry about. Trump has declared major disaster in all 50 states at once. For the first time in history, we have had a disaster in all 50 states. Yet, for whatever, look, I get it. We're in a political election. We're in a presidential election season. So I do think we have more important things to worry about. Trump's focus seems to be on what's the cause of the problem and why Joe Biden would be bad for this country. But what the Democrats have right now is that Trump is bad. I don't think that messaging is going to work. We have bigger problems. Trump's campaigning off the fact that he's working on a solution to the problem, and it's working very well. Joe Biden, having no position in office, can't really do anything. So all he can do is complain about the president, and people seem to like what the president is doing. It's not just regular people. California governor praises Trump's efforts to help state amid coronavirus crisis. Governor Gavin Newsom of California on CNN praised Donald Trump, saying that he would be lying if he didn't tell you that everything Trump has been able to do, he has done. Every request they made that was within his power, he solved. So let me tell you, let me address some political bickering, as I've alluded to a little bit. You know what, man? I wonder why it is. I often on this channel, look, let me tell you something. I make like 15 videos every day. I've got 3 hours and 40 minutes of content Monday through Friday and an hour and 40 minutes on Saturday and Sunday. I do more than just this one segment. If this is the only channel you're watching, you're missing out on a ton of other content I do, but hey, that's your choice. I've got youtube.com/TimCastNews, which is more cultural and political. I've got Timcast IRL, which is the podcast I host with my buddy Adam. And I have this channel, which predominantly focuses on high-profile big news stories, which tends to be politics, considering we're entering an election season. And that's kind of where things have fallen in terms of the culture war. So if you come here, you'll see I often will talk about Democrats. But I'm pretty sure I think I'm right. I think I have a focus. I think I'm going to be talking about the Democrats and what they're doing. But right now, when it comes to the 2020 election, what do we have? Trump has many faults. He's kind of an arrogant narcissist in many ways. He's not that bad. He's not the worst person in the world. If you actually look at personal anecdotes, people seem to really like the guy, especially working for him. He is not the end of the world. He's got some attitude problems for sure, but he was right about China. He was right about many other issues, and he's doing what he can do. Is he doing a perfect job? No, he's not. Is he doing the best job? No, he isn't. Is he better than literally anyone else? That's going to be up to whether or not you have someone else to compare him to. But he's certainly not as bad as the media makes him out to be because they're trying to chase after clicks. What's also true is that the Democrats have consistently gone after scandals instead of policies. When the moderates in 2018 ran in Trump districts, they won. But they immediately then flipped and went for impeaching the president. It's almost like they didn't actually want to campaign for anything. It was a lie to trick people so they'd get elected and then impeach Donald Trump, which they did and failed to convict on. It was a waste of our time. That's a fact. I tried doing a Google search the other day saying maybe there's something I can say, like the Democrats are working on this, that, or otherwise. They're not. Pelosi and Schiff oversight committees. Schumer wants to have a czar for coronavirus, even though we already have coronavirus oversight, and that's all they seem to be doing. And right now they're complaining about Trump's position on China, a position he's held for a decade or longer, as if it's a new strategy to criticize Donald Trump. They've offered us nothing, and it's going to keep happening that way as far as I can tell. But I'll tell you what, I'm looking. I just don't see it. I'll leave it there. I can tell you Trump was right because of the fact that he is. But I'll tell you what, during Occupy Wall Street, when I pointed out a bunch of uncomfortable truths, conservatives would rag on me and accuse me of being a lefty. I get emails about it to this day. And now that we're seeing a news cycle that lies and defends the president, sure enough, these people don't like it when I call it out. During Occupy Wall Street, the media lied all the time about the activists. And I didn't. I told the truth, and the activists really liked it. Well, today, many of these same activists are being propped up and defended by the media to go after Donald Trump. And they don't like that I'm telling the truth about that either. I fully expect that as soon as Donald Trump is out of office, maybe a Democrat comes in, the media starts lying, I'm going to be calling out the media for lying. And sure enough, we're going to see people flip back and forth over whether or not they like what I have to say. That's just the way it is. I'll see you all at 6 p.m. youtube.com/TimCastNews. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you there.